What's going on, guys? It's NYPrepper here. I have an urgent UFO alert for you guys. It is Thursday, March 25th, 2021, and I have this late night UFO update for you guys. This is absolutely critical information I'm about to share with you guys. Breaking news here, just coming out in the last few days, that the Pentagon is going to be releasing a UFO sightings report by June 1st. Okay, so the Pentagon is going to be declassifying UFO sightings, and they're making a formal report that they're going to deliver to Congress and to the American people by June 1st. Okay, June 1st of this year, 2021. We've never seen anything like this in the history of the United States or any country in the civilized world on planet Earth yet. Okay, this is absolutely a monumental occasion here. Okay, we have the Defense Department of the world's largest superpower declassifying UFO sightings, putting them into a report with all kinds of analysis and detailed information. And they're going to be releasing this report on June 1st. Okay. So I want to talk about this in a little bit more detail. And I have a interview with a Senator Marco Rubio that I want to share with you guys. He was on Fox News recently and he talked about this, and he talked about what he knows about UFOs. And we do know that Marco Rubio is a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee. So he's getting all the highly classified information about anything you could imagine. All right, because he's on the Intelligence Committee. So uh, it seems like Marco Rubio thinks that there is something out there that's not normal. And, he's not sure if it's foreign government or if it's aliens, but he believes that there's something going on and that we need to investigate it. So I want to play that clip where he was on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo, Fox Business channel. And there's also an interview with the former director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, who was the DNI under President Trump. And I have an interview with him. He also was on Fox Business with Maria Bartiromo, and he talked about this UFO report that's coming out in June, supposedly. Now, one thing that Marco Rubio said in his interview with Maria Bartiromo is that the deadline of June 1st could potentially be extended. So I want to just share some of the background information about this report and why they're suddenly declassifying it, in case you guys are unaware. So very interesting stuff here. So when President Trump signed the COVID-19 bill last year in 2020, in June of 2020, part of that COVID-19 bill set up a unidentified aerial phenomenon task force, and it created a deadline of 180 days to deliver a report of all the UFO sightings across the entire Defense Department, Army, Navy, geospatial intelligence, all the Defense Department agencies and branches of the military. The Pentagon was ordered under this COVID bill to create a report of all the UFO sightings that they have and declassify them and deliver a report. Okay. Now, obviously, because they're going to be declassifying these sightings, they're not going to be, all the really juicy, top secret stuff that they can't disclose. All right. But just the fact that the Pentagon is going to be delivering this report potentially on June 1st, but now they're saying they may extend that deadline just because there's so much information, and it's just a lot for them to put into one report. And so they're trying to maybe extend the deadline a little bit so they have more time to put everything together. But I find it interesting that under this COVID relief bill, they put this clause in there to create the UAP task force and to also create a deadline for a UFO sightings report. It seems like it was maybe President Trump's kind of last farewell gift to us, the American people. Now, we do know that over the last few years and over the last decade, the US government and the Congress have been very active in trying to research UFOs. We know that in 2007, Senator Harry Reid was interested in creating a task force to investigate UFO sightings. And supposedly that task force was dismantled in 2012, which we know was just a lie, because then in 2017 there was information that surfaced that the task force never really ended, and it transitioned over into a new task force called ATIP, which was Advanced Aerial Threat. Something, I don't know what it is, but you can look ATIP up and you'll find it there. And then they said that ATIP was disbanded, but now they're saying that ATIP was never really disbanded, and it's been transitioned over into this UAP task force that was created under the COVID bill under President Trump. So I find it very interesting that they created this task force and this deadline for this report under a COVID bill. It's very interesting. But I mean, they're going to be declassifying all these UFO sightings that the Defense Department, has accumulated over decades. We're talking about satellite information, geospatial intelligence information. They're talking about all branches of the military, all the information that they have, any sightings and data that they have. They're going to put it all into one big report, and they're going to disclose it to the American people and to Congress, and I don't think this is going to be the UFO disclosure that we're all waiting for. I think that what they're going to do is they're going to try to get us adjusted to UFOs becoming more of a normal thing. And then they're going to disclose it maybe next year or later on this year or maybe 2 years from now. Okay. They want the American people to get accustomed to the idea of UFOs being around, and they want to show us that they're aware of them and that they have information about them, but they want to stop short of saying that they're aliens or they're from another planet, even though they probably already have bodies of aliens in Area 51 that they recovered from numerous crashed flying saucers, including Roswell and Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. But that's a topic for another video. But regardless, the fact that the Pentagon is going to be putting this report together, massive amounts of information about all kinds of UFO sightings are going to be disclosed on June 1st. This is very, very a monumental occasion, and I'm going to be waiting eagerly for this report to come out. And as soon as this report comes out, I'm going to analyze it and I'm going to dissect it, and I'm going to do videos on it and maybe live streams on it. So stay tuned to my channel, because once this report drops, I'm going to analyze this thing in detail together with you guys, okay? Because I feel that this is a historic moment. We've never had a world superpower in the history of the world ever do something like this, okay? This is the first time any major superpowers disclosing so much information about UFOs that they have. And we have to remember that this is only the information that they're choosing to declassify. And it's a massive amount of information based on what President Trump's DNI said in his interview with Maria Bartiromo, which I'll play in a second here. Okay, but it's a massive amount of information. It's not just one or two sightings or three or four sightings. Based on what John Ratcliffe was saying, he's saying that there could be potentially hundreds of different sightings, all kinds of data that was never released to the public before. So this could be a historic moment. I think it's going to cause all kinds of panic in certain segments of the population. I think that people are really going to start to realize that we're not alone on planet Earth. And this is just truly a very crazy time that we're living in right now. I never thought as a kid that I would ever see anything like this growing up. In the 90s, I followed the UFO sightings in Phoenix, Arizona, the lights over Phoenix. And I was always big into UFOs, and I never thought that I would ever see the military and the government, declassifying sightings. I find this very, very interesting. All right, so I want to just also mention before I share the interview with DNI, John Ratcliffe and Marco Rubio. Before I share the videos of that, I want to just mention that we did have the Navy declassifying footage from a FLIR camera of an Air Force pilot, Commander David Fravor, 2 years ago. Okay, they declassified that famous Tic Tac footage, okay, from the thermal camera. So our government is slowly, dropping more and more information about these UFOs, okay? And they're slowly confirming what we've all known to be true, which is that, we're not alone here on planet Earth, and, there's something out there. So I want to just share this interview with DNI Ratcliffe here, okay? And you guys can watch this and see what you think for yourself, what he has to say. He says that there's multiple sensors across the world that the U.S. military has that have been picking up all kinds of weird things for the last few decades. You have to think about the security apparatus that the U.S. military has. Okay, they have one of the most advanced, monitoring systems ever created on planet Earth to monitor the skies for incoming threats from Russia or China or other countries. So the US military has so much data. If you think about all the satellites they have, all the radars, NORAD, all these advanced sensors that they have, thermal equipment. They have a ton of sensors, and they're constantly working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're monitoring the skies, they're monitoring space, and I'm sure that they pick up a lot of crazy stuff. And I think that's what they're going to put into this report. And I think, in my opinion, I think it's going to shock a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked at how much information the military is going to be declassifying. And you have to remember that if they're choosing to declassify this information, that's only the tip of the iceberg, because the real stuff they're keeping secret. All right. So I'm going to play this interview and you guys can see what you think about this.
Actually, is a program that's been in place for a few years in terms of a task force that has been there under the National Defense Authorization Act. But as you correctly point out, Maria, there's now a report that will be issued by the Pentagon, by the Secretary of Defense, and the Director of National Intelligence. I actually wanted to get this information out and declassified before I left office, but we weren't able to get it down into an unclassified format that we could talk about quickly enough. But frankly, there are a lot more sightings than have been made public. Some of those have been declassified. When we talk about sightings, we're talking about objects that have been seen by Navy or Air Force pilots or have been picked up by satellite imagery that frankly engage in actions that are difficult to explain, that movements that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for, or traveling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. So in short, things that we are observing that are difficult to explain. And so there's actually quite a few of those, and I think that information is being gathered and will be put out in a way that the American people can see. We always, when we see these things, Maria, we always look for a plausible explanation. Weather can cause disturbances, visual disturbances. Sometimes we wonder whether or not our adversaries have technologies that are a little bit further down the road than we thought or that we realized. But there are instances where we don't have good explanations for some of the things that we've seen. And, when that information becomes declassified, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that.
Can you tell us where it was seen?
Actually, all over the world. There have been sightings all over the world. And when we talk about sightings, the other thing I will tell you is it's not just a pilot or just a satellite or some intelligence collection. Usually we have multiple sensors that are picking up these things. And so, again, some of this are just they're unexplained phenomenon. And there's actually quite a few more than have been made public. So I think it'll be healthy for as much of this information to get out there as possible so that the American people can see.
So there you guys have it. That was the Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, under President Trump. And as you can see, this man is a patriot. He said that he wanted to release this information before he left office, and he was probably pushing for this. So that guy's a good man. The Director of National Intelligence, in case you guys are unaware of what that is, that's basically the head honcho of all the intelligence agencies in the United States. So CIA, NSA, Geospatial Intelligence, DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, all the intelligence agencies report to the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. So he was the head honcho. So obviously, this guy's knows what he's talking about. And so I want to also share this interview with Marco Rubio. Okay, very interesting interview with Marco Rubio, and so as you see, John Ratcliffe said that it's not just one sighting; it's many sightings across the world. Multiple sensors that they have. So let's listen to what Marco Rubio said just yesterday.
Senator, I want to turn to unidentified objects in the air. I had an exclusive interview with the former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, the other night on Fox News, where I asked him about this upcoming Pentagon report, which you, of course, have commissioned or encouraged to have a report on these unidentified objects. Here's John Ratcliffe with me last week. I've got to get your reaction to what's taking place. Have unidentified flying objects been seen?
Well, sure. We have lots of reports about what we call unidentified aerial phenomenon. There are a lot more sightings than have been made public. Sometimes we wonder whether or not our adversaries have technologies that are a little bit further down the road than we thought or that we realized.
So, Senator, what about that? What can you tell us about UFOs?
Well, we have things flying over military installations, over military exercises, and other places, and we don't know what it is. It isn't ours. It isn't anything that's registered with the FAA, and in many cases exhibits attributes of things we've never seen, technology, the kinds of technology we haven't seen before, or at least that's what it seems like. I think you have to know what it is, or we have to try to know what it is. That's my view of it, without any preconceived notions. Maybe there's a logical explanation. Maybe it's something that can be explained away. Maybe it's a foreign adversary who's made a technological leap, as you heard the former DNI said. Whatever it is, we need to know the answer to it. The problem with this issue is every time you raise it, people get all nervous. Oh, does this mean UFOs and aliens and extraterrestrial? We don't have to go that far. It's very simple. There are things flying over national security installations. We don't know who they are. We don't know what it is. It isn't ours. We need to find out.
Well, this is absolutely fascinating. So, I mean, from my standpoint, when I heard John Ratcliffe talk about that, I went and I looked up what you've said about the Pentagon report coming up June 1st. What do you think we're going to learn from that Pentagon report on June 1st?
Well, first, I'm not sure they're going to come in on time, to be honest with you, because they miss a lot of deadlines in government on these sorts of things. But we'll get a report at some point. Second is, I don't know if we're going to know what. I mean, I'm not sure that by June 1st they'll have reached a hard conclusion about what they're dealing with, and there may be more questions or new questions than full answers after the fact. I can tell you it's being taken more seriously now than it ever has been. And look, there's a stigma associated with this, all right? When a Navy pilot would report that they saw something They were told you need to go see the flight surgeon, to check out your head, make sure you're not seeing things. So there's a stigma associated with reporting it. Even talking to you about it now, right? I mean, people are going to go out and say, look what these people are focused on when the world is falling apart. So there's a stigma associated with it, and that's, I think, needs to go away. We don't have any preconceived notions about what this is or isn't. We just need to know, or we need to start trying to know. I think the first step is to ask the question. If you don't ask the question, you're not going to get or begin to get answers.
So it's not necessarily like that we have, little ETs running around, aliens, but it could be technology that China or Russia or somebody else has developed that could be ahead of the United States then. That's even more worrisome to me.
Well, again, I don't know. It would be very worrisome. I don't know that to be the case, but we need to start finding out.
So there you guys have it. There's Marco Rubio talking about the aerial phenomenon, okay? And, he is the one of the head guys on the Intelligence Committee, so he has access to a lot of stuff. And Rubio was saying that there's a lot of things flying over military bases, and we don't know what they are, and they're not flying with the same speeds and characteristics that normal jet aircraft would be flying at. So he wants to get to the bottom of it, and I think that this is a monumental occasion, and this is potentially historic. So when this report drops, I'll do a full analysis of it with you guys, and I'll do some videos on it and live streams on it as well. And I want to just play one last video here. And this is a good summary of everything that I talked about so far. This is from George Knapp, so check this out.
The first public mention of the UAP task force came in June 2020 when the Senate Intelligence Committee formally asked the Pentagon for a comprehensive analysis of the UFO mystery. Over the previous 3 years, members and staff of key committees had received closed-door briefings about startling encounters between the U.S. military and unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. The Senate Intelligence Chairman Marco Rubio acknowledged to Mystery Wire that lawmakers consider this to be a serious matter.
This is a very simple equation for me. There are things flying over our military installations. We don't know what they are or where they're from. We don't know if it's some other country that's doing it, and we need to know the answer to that question. Simple.
In August 2020, the Pentagon formally announced the creation of the task force, and in late December, the massive bill containing government funding and COVID relief was signed into law, as first reported by blogger Danny Silva. A provision in the bill authorized the task force to prepare a comprehensive analysis of the UFO mystery and submit it to Congress within 180 days, meaning around June 1st. Getting a straight story out of the Pentagon about its interest in UFOs has always been a challenge, and the same is true of the UAP task force. For one thing, it's not exactly a new creation. Veteran intelligence officer Lou Elizondo spent years as the program manager for ATIP, the Pentagon's previous UFO investigation. When the New York Times first revealed the existence of ATIP in December 2017, the Pentagon said the program ended in 2012 and that it didn't really have anything to do with UFOs. Neither claim was true. Elizondo said the program never ended. It continued even after he left the government as a loose confederation of personnel in different parts of the national security apparatus. Elements of that investigation formed the basis of the newly named UAP task force. Members of the public and media excited about the scheduled report to Congress might want to temper their expectations because there are significant barriers to anything resembling full disclosure. For one thing, the report to Congress will be unclassified, meaning it will not contain the most sensitive, most classified cases or incidents because those directly involve national security matters. Key committees will likely receive separate annex reports regarding classified incidents. That information isn't likely to be made public. Secondly, while the funding bill ordered the task force to produce a comprehensive analysis of the UAP mystery, it provided no funding. The task force was not provided with an actual budget, only marching orders. Mystery Wire asked the Pentagon to comment on this, but received no reply. Thirdly, sources familiar with the task force say there's been a major change at the top. The high-ranking official who's led the UFO investigation for years is out. The name has not been made public, but we've learned it's the same official who's been briefing Congress since 2018 and who's been directly responsible for getting elected officials interested in the subject. The Navy assigned the official to other duties. Can the task force finish its job by June 1st? Maybe not. It's a gigantic undertaking to search the entire national security system for all relevant videos and files, and then to seek input and analysis from other intelligence agencies. It is entirely possible the task force will have to ask Congress for more time. In a radio interview in late December, Lou Elizondo announced he has left To the Stars Academy, the company which coaxed him into coming forward in 2017. Also departed is veteran intelligence official Chris Mellon. Both men say they're still supportive of TTSA, but are now largely focused on behind-the-scenes work in Washington to encourage Congress and the Pentagon to move the UFO ball down the field. Elizondo cautioned the public to lower its expectations about the task force report, saying, quote, "This is a process, not an event. We're asking the U.S. government to engage in something that historically it never wanted to engage in. I think a lot of people have these false hopes that disclosure is here and all of a sudden have this huge announcement by the U.S. government. Progress is being made," Elizondo says. The task force report will be just the beginning. He hopes Congress will authorize a permanent UAP program, one that has a budget and the authority to truly investigate a perplexing mystery. For Mystery Wire, George Knapp reporting.
All right, guys. So as you see in this report, they're saying to lower your expectations, but still a very historic moment. And this could lead to more reports in the future and potentially a permanent task force. So this is some interesting stuff going on, guys. Interesting times and crazy times with everything else going on. But I wanted to just share this information with you guys. I know I usually do prepping videos and more serious subjects, but I also do UFO coverage as well. And I like to break away from prepping every now and then and share something a little bit more lighter and fun and more interesting. So we'll see what happens with this report. I'm gonna do coverage on it. I'm gonna analyze it for you guys. So stay tuned to my channel for that. I also do have a video of a UFO that I filmed outside of my house about 2 months ago in my UFO playlist, and I'll attach a link to that video up above. It's just about a minute long video of a UFO that flew over my house. Definitely wasn't a plane, definitely wasn't a satellite, it definitely wasn't the International Space Station, definitely wasn't a helicopter, not a jet. I don't know what it was, but it was a white orb that went across the sky in the evening time. No contrail, no blinking lights. Too big to be a satellite, and it was not a jet, and it was flying in a perfectly straight path. So I'll attach a link up above to if you guys want to check that out. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. And as always, take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.